So I'm Christy Campbell and I own a design studio in Auckland, New Zealand. And my studio is called Pink Pony Creative. And basically I do a whole lot of branding and graphic design, anything from print collateral through to social media graphics and even sort of web banners, digital stuff, and then also right through the other way where you can do vehicle signage and I've even done signage on buildings. So I've kind of done it all in the graphic design realm. Sure. So basically, I started my career straight where I was in school, and I was always pretty creative. I loved scrapbooking. I loved like tracing things when I was a little kid, and even like making little home movies. And so I was always pretty creative, and I always knew that I wanted to do something creative. And then when I had the opportunity at school to take graphic design as an option, literally, I think it was like I would have been like 13 probably, and I went into that class and I was just like, yeah, this is what I want to do. This is what I want to do with my life. And ever since then, like there's been no other option for me. That was it. And I just loved it, which is cool. I've never had to kind of juggle and figure out what I wanted to do. And then leaving school, I went and did a Bachelor of Graphic Design and Animation at Unitec in Auckland. So that was a 3-year degree. Learned heaps there. Was a really good degree, and then came out of that, I think, start of 2014. So I'm 28 now. And I, yeah, basically from there tried to look for a job, and I found it really hard. It was so hard to get a job, and everyone say, oh, I think you're a great designer, but you just don't have enough experience. And then you sort of think, oh, well, how the hell am I going to get experience if no one's taking me on? So it was difficult. And then kept being interviewed, didn't really get anywhere. And then I actually ended up getting an internship through someone my dad knew at a company. And so I was working for free for about 3 months. And there was no other option. I was just like, yep, I'm going to do it, see if I can get my foot in the door. I was still interviewing other places, and they knew that at the internships. That was quite good. But nothing really stood out to me. And then at the end, came to about 3-month mark, and then that business actually said to me, look, we really like what you do. Do you want to work here full time and have a position here? And I was just like, of course, great, like, yes. Got my first job. And so I was a junior designer at the company. It was a retail property management group, so we did things for shopping malls and stuff like that. So it was really versatile. Like I got to design things for, Christmas graphics, and whenever a shopping mall had a cool event, I got to design that, and do like fashion catalogs. So it was a really, really good first job, and I ended up being there for about 4 years. So I moved from the junior design position to the senior design position in that time. Honestly, best first job. I just loved it. The people were great. It was fun. And then following that, I left and traveled a little bit. Got to do the OE thing. So I went overseas for about 6 months and then came back, and I just got straight back into it again. I got a job at the warehouse, actually, as a creative director. So that was a really cool job. Contracted to them for 6 months. It was just brief. It was temporary. Did something a little bit different with photo shoots, things like that. And then following that, I actually got offered a job at a business as a graphic design and kind of marketer there, and it was kind of a really big opportunity, so I couldn't really say no. Took that, and it was there for 2 years, and then that was basically like a one brand company, and so I was kind of designing in the same colors every day, same fonts. So I was getting a little bit, I just felt like I wasn't creatively getting enough out of the job. And I learned a lot there, but it just wasn't fulfilling my cup. So I decided to do a 100-day design challenge to kind of open up the world, see what I could design. And I use Instagram to kind of keep myself accountable. And then I started the challenge, started posting everything, and it was going quite well. And then I think I hit about 1,000 followers at the very end. So after 100 days, that's when I hit 1,000 followers. And I got like my first little inquiry saying, hey, I love your stuff. Do you think you could design something for me? And I was like, this is amazing. And then, yeah, basically from there, it kind of snowballed. And then I approached the business I was working in, and I said, hey, look, I really want to dive into the freelancing world. And I had a great opportunity with them where they were so supportive, and they allowed me to go back from a full week to like 4 days a week with them, to 3 days a week, to 2 days. I was so lucky that they were able to support me like that. And everything I did in that role was kind of done. So they were just kind of like easing me out, but I was kind of easing into this freelance, owning my own business. So in that sense, I was so lucky I didn't just go straight into having no clients. I had them at a really good base. And then, now it's been like a year and a half of Pink Pony Creative, and I love it. After uni, I was always a pretty confident person, but I just didn't like networking that much. Like I thought of networking as, we're all in a room at an event and you have to go around and be like, hi, I'm Christy and here's my number and this is what I do. And I just wasn't into that. I'm pretty casual. So I was just like, like the chill kind of stuff. And so for my first few years of work, I felt like I didn't do any networking, and I was kind of like, I don't know that many people in the industry and things like that. And I don't think I did. But at that time, I didn't realize networking was knowing an accountant, knowing old, Jim who makes my coffee. All that stuff is networking. It's all the people and I think with the business now, I've only just realized that. It's taken me a while to actually understand that networking doesn't mean who you know in the industry. It could mean your Jim from coffee who might give you some work one day because he wants a new brand for his coffee shop. So understanding that, and now I'm like, wow, it's really important. So knowing that networking is knowing everyone around you, and putting your best foot forward. So you want to be that really like friendly professional. You want to give your A+ effort all the time with these people so that they one day will then come around and say, hey, you've got a design business. I'd love for you to design a logo or design a, brand for me. And now that's happened for me. I get people coming, who I know, who I've worked with in the past at these previous businesses. And they come to me now because they're like, wow, Christy, I really love what you did at the company I worked with you at. And I really want you to make a brand for me. So I think it is so important. And you don't realize how connected you're going to get until a few years in. So you might feel like, I don't know that many people in the industry. I don't know that many people around town, but trust me, you do. Like, it'll just kind of snowball after a while. So, and yeah, just remember how important it is putting that best foot forward every time. I love to start off the day. I like to get up early. I'm definitely a morning person. I think if you can you get up early, get up at 5, you've got so much more time in the day to get shit done and to be like, I'm a boss bitch, let's do this. So like I get up at about 5:30 with my husband. We do 20 minutes yoga together. We've now got quite a routine, which is amazing. We do 20 minutes yoga and then we go for a little 15-minute walk every morning now, which really starts us off so great. It's a slow start, but it just gets us moving, gets our minds going. And then I basically get started into work, and I start pretty early, like 7:30, and I just do emails and reply to some DMs. I always like to do that first, and then I get into the design work really that I've got for the day, and it's always pretty hectic. But and then I just keep designing until about sort of 5:30ish. Go for a run. But I often, as a creative, I know my creative juices, this is going to sound a bit cheesy, they're really precious. Like, and if I work myself too hard, I'm just not going to be able to create. So I always try to make sure that I do often do maybe like 1 or 2 hours in the afternoon at night, but I don't do more than that. I'm never up at like 1 a.m. working because it's just going to screw my precious little creativity over, and I don't want to get to that point. So you've got to like hold it in a little cup. It's like a little bird. And you want to make sure that little bird's not going to get too overworked. Yeah, no, for sure. I use a program called Notion actually at the moment that is really good to plan things out. I plan all my projects in there. So that is a really helpful thing. And, I used to be such a to-do list writer. I'd write down my to-do list, but now with Notion, you can literally go in and write little notes everywhere and anywhere and kind of say, today I'm going to do X amount and get these done. And just try and focus on a few tasks every day that you're going to be like, yep, got that done. Just so you can feel like you've accomplished something. But yeah, basically just using Notion. And I have found though, I've got now a full-time staff member who works for me. I've found that Notion might not be the best program going forward for that kind of thing. So I'm looking into like different ways to manage my staff member, which is exciting, but a bit scary. So yeah, no, that's kind of the only platform I do use really for management at the moment, but it goes well. I love work and I've always been a hard worker, I think. And so I just like, and I know that, you know, it's really important to have a work-life balance. I'm also quite social and I love, you know, hanging out with my husband and also going out with my friends. So I find, you know, those are the things that also really make me happy. So you've got to make time for that. I just know that if I work all the time and don't see my friends and, you know, don't go on a cute date with my husband, I'm not going to be that much of a happy person. And isn't that why we go into business, to be like have a better lifestyle? And yes, you do work way harder than you've ever done before, but like, you know, you do also need to make sure you save those time, like save time for those special moments, so that your overall happiness is a lot better. Yeah, I've never been one to like work late into the night or anything. So I'm always like wake up way earlier and then get it done. It's funny, when I started the business, I had already started my Instagram. You know, it was called Pink Pony Creative, but I didn't intend it on being a business when I started the 100-day challenge. So I was kind of, I had already like got a bit of a momentum, and I think that helped as well. I just didn't have any pressure on it. The Instagram was kind of there. I was at like, yeah, like I said, 1,000 followers. It was going all right. And then from there, I started the business. And so I've never really known my business without social media. And I do think it would be completely different to what it is now if I didn't use it. I do know of a designer who's a great designer, but she doesn't use social media at all for a business. I don't even think she's got an Instagram for a design studio, but she does amazing, and she just does everything through word of mouth. But for me, social media has completely transformed my business in a way that I never thought it could. So obviously you get more clients. The bigger you grow, you're going to get more clients. You're going to reach out to way more people. But I have found with social media, you get all these other opportunities that come in that you never thought would have happened before. You know, even like talking to you today, I would never have gotten this, you know, lovely chat, lovely opportunity if I hadn't had an Instagram. Even like being on other podcasts, you know, I've had opportunities for like paid promotion work, things like that, which is really cool. Who knew a graphic design influencer was a thing? But it is. And you know, I've got some really exciting things that might be coming up that I would have never achieved without social media. So it can really like broaden your horizons. You know, here we are as a designer, you think the only thing around design is the client work, but no, it's definitely not. You can go into podcasting about design. You can go into making courses online, selling those courses. You could then go into like making templates, selling them online to your audience. There's so many things you can do with social media. It's honestly insane. And it's, yeah, definitely changed my business for the better. I only have great things to say about it in terms of a business. And like, what if you're trying to think to, oh, should I do it? Should I not? Should I put the effort in? It's so worth it, 100%. But it does, I've been doing it for a year and a half now, and I've put in a lot of work, I have to say. Like, you just, yeah, you work on it every day, probably an hour every day at least. You're trying to post consistently, and just show up, because I think that's one of the key things to growing an Instagram, is being there, you know, posting every week, putting your face on Instagram stories, stuff like that. Try not to focus solely on one social media platform. You want to branch out to maybe two. I would say going over two social media platforms becomes a bit much, and you do tend to, you're going to run out of time. No one has that much time to do them all, unless you get someone else to come in and manage like a Pinterest account, something like that, to help you out. But I think having two platforms is powerful, because, you know, now that I have my TikTok, if a video does really well, you then get the followers from TikTok coming over to Instagram, and vice versa. They can kind of interchange each other. So growing those two accounts has been powerful, because they kind of feed off each other. And speaking about like how to grow a social media account exactly, like tips and tricks, I would say one of the most important things is to have a niche, but don't think about your niche in such a way it has to be just like social media tips, like graphic design tips. Exactly. You can kind of expand on that a little bit. So, maybe you're a designer, you're going to talk about, what you do, like day in the life of a designer, your top tools to, that you work with. This could be like a laptop. I use a keyboard, all that kind of stuff. You could talk about, morning routine to help you prepare for your graphic design day. There's so many like things around just design that you can do, so that you really want to try and extend on all that, like a little spider web. You're going from design to design tips, and then within the design tips you're going to speak about how to brand, all that kind of stuff. I think it's really key to have a niche, but try and speak about all the topics within that niche, if that makes much sense. And then another way to grow your social media accounts, you've got to put in the effort. I think this is such a key one. I know I spoke about it before, but consistency is key. I often get people DMing me saying, oh, I've been working on Instagram for a while and I have had no results. And I'll click onto their profile and they might have posted yesterday, and then the time before that they would have posted 3 months ago. And I'm like, that's the answer right there. You're not being consistent enough. If you're wanting, for literally a year and a half, I was posting like 3 posts a week, 3 reels a week, and trying to do the 10 stories a day. So I think that can really help with your growth and just being consistent. It feels like a lot of work and you might not see results for a while, but trust me, they will come. So that's a really good tip. And then another one would be, don't think about it too much. I think people obsess over their feed looking perfect and, their real cover shot looking perfect. Just honestly, half the problem, I think half the time people put this block on themselves saying, oh, I shouldn't put that up, it's not perfect, but just post it. Like, just, I think it's just get it out there, just keep going. Trying to think about the little examples, especially with platforms like TikTok and video content like reels. You want to keep everything as short and sharp as possible. You want to have it pretty fast paced. People these days have the shortest attention span. So if you're trying to show a tutorial, you don't want to dilly-dally around with like your first opening up Photoshop. I'm going to go to this one. You want to make it fast, quick, so people are like, ooh, 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 it's all happening. That's another key one. Something that I thought about one time, especially while my account was growing, it was probably at like 4,000 followers or something, and I was getting really quite busy. And I thought, if I don't post for a little bit, it'll be fine. But then if you think about it like this, back when we didn't have Instagram and even the internet, how would you market yourself? You would probably print out a flyer and then go around, drop flyers in the mailbox. Just because you had clients that week doesn't mean you're going to stop dropping flyers in people's mailboxes. You want to be like, yeah, I want that work in the future, so I'm going to keep dropping them every morning. Otherwise it'll dry up and eventually you'll have nothing. So you want to make sure you keep consistent and just keep posting, because that is your marketing, and we're so lucky these days that it is free. So that's key. If I was, not that I had this experience, because I was lucky that, the business was slowly be able to like, took me away and I could slowly ease into it. But I think if you're working full time and you're doing, your side hustle, you're freelancing outside of work, if it gets to a point where you're really like, holy shit, I'm like pretty overloaded, I'm working every night, I'm working on the weekends, I think that's when you can kind of be like, I could literally take this pretty seriously. And if you're a hard worker, I think you just got to trust that it will work out. It will be okay. I think the worst thing that can happen, you don't get any clients for a few months. You might struggle with a bit of money. Maybe it means I'm going to go get a job at a local cafe for part-time so I can work on this business and just get a bit of money to support me. Or it might mean, no, this didn't work for me, I'm going to go back into a full-time role and go back to it. That's kind of the worst thing that can happen, really. But I think something that I kind of learned from my experience was, I think, it depends on where you work, but if you're working for a business that's rather small, maybe small to medium sized, you might be surprised by the way they react to you wanting to go into freelancing. You know, don't be afraid to maybe approach them and say, hey, look, you know, I feel like I've worked really hard here. I've loved working here, et cetera, but maybe I'm quite interested in doing the freelancing thing. You could even approach them and say, would you be interested in me dropping a day, and dropping 2 days a week? See what they say. You might find that they're like, oh, wow, that would actually work really well for us, you know? So I think that's something to keep in mind. What do they say about, like, if you don't ask, you won't get? Is that a quote? Something like that anyway. Yeah, so just ask them. I mean, it's different if you're probably working in like a really large business, or I don't know, a really serious company that they're not going to do that kind of thing, but you never know. So I feel like with the business, what motivates me is knowing that it's all coming back to me. You know, if I don't do it, no one's going to do it. So like, I've got to make this happen for me. And I think, you know, having little successes really motivates you. You know, those little moments, you're like, oh my God, this is so cool. That motivates me. And that motivates me to want to keep going and get another little feeling like that. Like a really cool inquiry, like, oh, frick, this is such an epic opportunity. That kind of thing really motivates me. Another thing would definitely be like, you know, now being married, I want to, even my husband has a really great job and does really well. So I'm very lucky in that sense, you know, but I also want to make sure that I want to also provide for our family, and we want to create a really amazing life together. So, you know, I'm not one to just be at home doing nothing. So, you know, that really motivates me. The last one, which is a kind of interesting one, I guess, it would probably be like exercise. You know, without exercise, I wouldn't have half the motivation I do. So I think even getting out for a walk, that kind of thing can really help with motivation. You know, even waking up to doing yoga, that has helped me immensely. It's crazy how much it's helped. So, you know, get outside, listen to the birds, feel the breeze. I think, you know, when you start, all you're really focusing on is trying to get clients. That's like a really key thing. You know, you feel like, oh, I might run out of work. I remember there was a time when I remember feeling like I don't have anything booked in 2 weeks. What am I gonna do? And it always just seemed to work out. You know, at that point, I was only booking literally like a week in advance. And so you kind of panic, and that's kind of your main priority, is just trying to get clients, and also putting your best foot forward so that your clients either come back or they refer you, because that's a really key way to market yourself as well, referrals. But now it's so different in the sense, like, I'm so busy and I'm booked out now until February, which I'm like, it's probably a bit crazy. Need to up my prices. But you know, now it's changed and turned into, how am I gonna, my priorities are like making sure I'm putting out my best work, but also trying to keep on top of the work, and making sure, you know, even the accounting side of things, you're still prioritizing everything in your business by trying not to let things slip, which is really hard. I do find that really tough at the moment. I try to, I guess this is a little tip maybe, I try to look at things from the outside inwards. So I try to not think, oh my God, I've got too much work. It sounds like a really silly way to look at things, but I try and look inwards, saying, if I was someone else, how would I feel about myself? Oh, wow, she's got heaps of work. Good on her. She must be stoked. And I try and like really focus on that feeling. Oh, you know, oh, I've got heaps of work. Yeah, I've got this. It's good. Not stressing out about it. So yeah. And one I always like to say is back yourself. You know, especially out of uni, I didn't feel like I was the best designer. And I still don't feel like I'm like the best designer in the world. That's a bit wild. And I think it's important not to feel like that, because your ego will get too big. But I think, you know, coming out of uni, you see all these amazing artists and like great designer. And to be honest, I did pretty average at uni. I didn't do that great. And even looking back on my work now, I'm like, oh, it's really something to be, you know, needs to improve there. But it's important to remember that you're going to get better over time. It's going to happen for you. And you've just got to know that, I will get better. You know, I might not be the best now, but I am going to be damn good one day, even if it takes 10 years. So I think back yourself and just know that, oh, maybe this isn't my best work, but that's all right. I know one day I'm going to be great. And this is like all those little steps will lead you to that place. So yeah, one tip, back yourself. I think success is what makes you happy. You know, whether it's getting one client for a month, whether it's getting 20 clients in a month, whatever makes you truly happy, and to not get hung up on like all the little nitty gritty things, especially with social media. It is such an amazing platform, and I wouldn't be where I am today without it. But then in the same sense, it could be dangerous. You know, you do compare yourself to others, that kind of thing. So try not to look at what other people have. Like I said before, try and look outwards and try and look inwards and understand what you've got and all those little things. You know, if you've got a roof over your head, that kind of stuff, that'll all help to your success. So that's definitely, define success as your happiness, really cheesy answer, but I think it's true. I think as a designer, like you might find like maybe there'll be a lot of like younger designers, or you know, designers who just come in university that might listen to this. I think something my dad told me that I resonate with a lot is that, you know, there's always going to be a designer better than you, but you're always going to be a better designer than someone else. So, and it sounds like a weird quote, but just remember, like, there's a bit of everything to go, like, bit of, no, I can't get my words out. Cut that bit out. um, can't get my words out at all. But I think it's important to remember that, and just, yeah, like I said, back yourself and know that you will get there. You just got to work hard, you know, especially with design. It takes a long time to get good, something creative. So just remember that.